Welcome back to the Escape Collective Tour Daily Podcast, everybody. I'm Kaylee Fritz. What a stage. What a breakaway stage. The last chance saloon for everybody not named, probably Tadej Pogacar, let's be honest. And it sort of played out roughly like we thought it would. Big old breakaway. That breakaway split up a whole bunch of times. A very clever rider ended up taking the victory. Victor Kampenaerts, well done. Joining me to talk all about it, Ian Trelaw.
Hello, friends. Good to be here.
Johnny Long.
Hello.
And Joshua Robinson of the Wall Street Journal.
Hello.
Guys, where do we start?
Where do we start?
It was a good finish.
Yeah.
Should we just...
Let's start at the finish.
Let's start at the finish. Should we just listen to the little post-race Victor Kampenaerts interview?
Recap how he won.
All right.
The 3-up sprint.
3-up sprint against Matteo Verscher, a Frenchman, on Total Energies. Actually, I'm pretty sure the guy who hit the fence
crashed
in the rollout.
In the rollout.
Yes.
Did he?
Yeah. So crashed into a fence in a rollout, and then,
He's had quite a day.
And last rider in the race on the start list, which I always like. You always look for that, you know.
He's probably one of the guys that I disparaged heavily.
If Jordan Jagat hadn't popped out of the run sheet, the rider sheet, you'd have gone for...
I would have been like, who's that?
Yeah.
That guy seems like he deserves to be in a doomed French breakaway.
It wasn't like a little crash. He didn't like tip over at a red light because he couldn't clip back in. This was
Big
like...
They got whack into it.
Yeah, he was like over the top of the bike.
Oh my god.
So it ended up being Kampenaerts, Verscher, and Kwiatkowski in, 1, 2, 3 order. Mikael Kwiatkowski just, like, he can't do what he used to be able to do, and sort of, you know, he used to like boss the front of the peloton in the sort of the Sky era, and was just sort of everywhere all the time in the Tour de France. But he always seems to pick one day, and can pull it out of the hat. And yes, he didn't win today, but he wasn't too far off. Yeah, he won a stage last year, and he always is able to pick one. It's one of those sort of classes permanent kind of situations, I think.
He won that stage with Carapaz when they were both on Ineos.
Yeah, that was good.
4th place. Best friend of the pod. Friend of the pod, Toms. Well done, Toms. It was an incredible ride for him. He looked like he was struggling in some of the... Well, so basically we had a string of Cat 3 climbs today. And in particular, I believe it was on Comte Sap Apollinaire. Am I saying that? Probably not correctly. I think that was the one where he was having some difficulties, and he was kind of tailing off the back of that big group, and he still managed to pull himself back up, and then sort of looked like a late attack out of his group netted him a 4th on the day. It's just good bike racing these breakaway days, and we haven't gotten many of them.
They're refreshing instead of being like, oh, here we go again. Like, if this was 3rd week of the Giro, you'd be like, I've seen this day already like a dozen times.
Yeah.
But it's nice to see a few different people animating the day. Especially enjoyed Victor Kampenaerts' fake pain faces in the final. That was really good.
He was really messing with people.
Really was.
Well, messing with Kwiatkowski and Verscher.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
Should we listen to his little post-race interview thing? For anybody who missed it on TV, I'm pretty sure this played on TV, I would imagine. But in case you missed it, here's just a bit of it. And he's a very emotional guy. And then we're going to turn to you, Ian, because you chatted with him at the beginning of the race about why he was an emotional guy. Let's hear from him.
This is a happy man. This is the dream of a career. This is what you've been fighting for years and years and years, to cross the finish line victoriously.
Right. As a real professional, you have to ride the Tour de France, finish the Tour de France, and winning a stage in the Tour de France is everybody's dream. And I'm not a neo-pro. I've been dreaming about this for a very long time. After the classics, Opening Classic, Flanders Classic, I had a very difficult time. I had a verbal agreement with the team about extending the contract, and I got ignored for a long time, and it was very difficult. I was on a long altitude camp, but my girlfriend was there. She supported me every day, highly pregnant, and I was struggling to finish my training schedules, but I changed my mind. I have a bright future now, still in cycling. I became a father and was like blue skies, only blue skies. I started to feel very good on the bike. and coming to this Tour de France with a super motivated team. We have a super good atmosphere in the team. This is just the summum of this atmosphere in the team, and we're gonna celebrate tonight.
This is a victory for your son. This is a victory for your wife, I suppose.
The wife, is my girlfriend. Is not my wife.
Sorry.
Not yet. But this is the support I have from my girlfriend is incredible. She's always there for me. We went 9 weeks on an altitude camp. She was highly pregnant. She gave birth to our son at the bottom of the climb in Granada. She is the hero in this story. And I'm so grateful that she made this possible, that the team made it possible, that I have the super long altitude camp to prepare this Tour de France. I get a lot of faith of the team, and also because of the birth of my son, I didn't do any preparation race leading into the Tour de France, but I had the faith that I will be in a good shape. I will be leaving the team, but I'm so happy that we can finish off with maybe the highlight of my career, and it's a super nice way to leave the team and to for this Tour de France. Again, we will celebrate tonight.
About the race, it's also the victory of experience. You had to be the smartest out there.
I think I played it very smart, and also the team gave me a lot of confidence that everybody knew that I had very good legs, and that this was a stage that I aimed for, let's say in December already. That I said stage 18 is the only stage I see an opportunity for me to win. I slipped in the breakaway with only 1 bullet. I maybe played it a bit dirty with showing or trying to show everybody that I was hurting a lot. So I didn't have to do too much pulls. I followed the moves, and we had a great attack going on there in the final. We collaborated very well together, actually, until the last kilometer. And I'm so, it's undescribable. There is still 3 hard days to come, but I'm looking so much forward to go home to my girlfriend and my son.
Well deserved. Thank you.
Wasn't stage 18 the stage last year, Matej Mohoric, in his emotional interview? Is it just got so far in the race that it's around this time where the guys who've been trying all race, it's just overwhelming when they finally do it?
I don't remember if it was 18. I know that 17 last year was the...
Asgreen?
No, that was the Pogacar implosion.
Maybe
day.
it was 19 then, but it was high teens.
Ian, some might say you broke this story. You spoke with Victor Campenaerts earlier in the race.
Well, I think his wife broke the story when she broke her waters. Sorry, not wife, partner.
Yeah.
I did speak with Victor Campenaerts earlier in the race. I noticed that he had a very fresh child with him at the start that day. So after
dads, we know what fresh children look like.
This one was real fresh. It was just like wiggly limbs and completely helpless. So I spoke to him after that stage, and we just had a couple of minutes of dad chat, which ended up with, he is an emotional guy, ended up with him welling up, ended up with me welling up. It was a surprisingly human moment in a bike race where usually the athletes are kind of a little bit dismissive of media, but he was just very generous with his time and explained how just before the time trial the day before, I think, he had finished 5th on that day. Yep. Did a really good time trial and was explaining how just before that time trial he had changed a shitty nappy and how that had given him wings. So
no changing of a shitty nappy has ever given anybody wings.
Victor Campenaerts said, "It's daddy time. Changed the diaper 1.5 hours before the time trial, and I quote, it gave me wings, Kaylee."
Snuggling your child, playing with your child grabbing your finger with its little fingers.
I'm sorry,
Those
we
things
could
give you
listen
wings.
back to the transcript. It's
At
on
least
the
he
record.
wasn't changing his
Poopy
child
butts.
in a multi-story car park by the ticket machine. Yes, Josh Robinson. I
But-
saw that happen.
Besides the nappy gear, he was or diaper
Yeah,
for
don't
the
like
American
diaper.
listeners.
Diaper.
He explained that dad life comes naturally to him. It gives me wings. It's the best thing in my life. He said.
Is he
What, is
angling
he
for
gonna
a Red
be-
Bull
yeah,
sponsorship?
What's
Like,
his
what is
Red
this?
Bull? Yeah.
No, I don't know. Stop being cynical for one moment, Johnny. He said that our records of winning a Giro stage, or I suppose a Tour stage now, is incredible. But when my son squeezes my finger, I directly forget about all those things.
We have to ask him if it's the same for after winning a tour stage now.
Yeah.
What was?
Sorry, baby Gustav, you are now in
It's
second
called Gustav.
position. Yeah.
That's fun.
Yeah.
What were you guys welling up about specifically?
It was just. I don't know. I mean, he's away from his child. I'm away from my children,
Yeah.
and he's just explaining how it's such an important. Now I'm doing it again. Lucky I'm wearing sunglasses.
Are you welling up? You're Tim
little bit.
Wellington up.
No, it was just a really nice moment of human connection that you don't normally get when you're talking to a pro cyclist.
Can I bring you
from
back down to
Belgium.
earth?
Yeah, please.
I just got a text from my wife. Said,
My wife.
Hey, our child is refusing to get her hair brushed, and so they will never go outside ever again.
Yeah,
That's
why can't
more
they go
what it's usually
outside?
like.
yeah. I mean, they do
Because she
that.
looks like Medusa.
How does it matter?
I mean, she's 4. It doesn't really matter. They
Yeah.
probably will go outside, but this is more my wife being like, this is what I'm currently dealing with.
I like it when you okay, tangent, we'll come back in a minute. I like it when you see young families like out and about at the shops or whatever, and there's one child who has clearly insisted that morning to dress up in fancy dress to head out for the day, and the parents just like, you know what, you dress as Spider-Man for the entire day. It's really fun.
It is good. Just a hint for the tangled hair.
Yeah.
Just an absolute fuckload of conditioner.
Yeah, that's what we
Just
do.
layer it in, like so
Yeah.
much conditioner.
Is
Half
having
a
your hair
bottle.
brushed that bad?
They don't like it.
Hairbrushing is no good for
Yeah.
the smaller people.
The smaller people not big fans. Big fans, however, of princess dresses, mermaid dresses. Sometimes we go to the park in our princess dress. Sometimes we have one princess dress and then we want more of them, so we just put like 3 princess dresses on.
Oh my
You gotta.
days.
You gotta. Sometimes you just gotta.
Let's return to the bike race. Other things worth... Josh is over here like, what on earth
Yeah.
are you guys talking about? Ian got us started. It's his fault. Actually, no,
Sorry.
Victor Kampenart's got us
Victor
started with his
Kampenart's.
love of his family.
I think the miracle of childbirth got it started.
I liked how, and I'm not sure if we heard that bit of the interview, but I like how when he was talking about his wife accompanying him to altitude camp while highly pregnant, he also said she gave birth at the bottom of the climb in Granada, which is such a weird way to refer
No,
geographically.
but
to a
actually-
place.
Everything is climbs.
Everything is climbs.
But this is a kind of crazy thing. He was on an altitude training camp for 9.5 weeks with his heavily pregnant girlfriend, and she went into labour at altitude, and then they just hopped into the car and drove down the mountain for childbirth.
Honestly,
In
it sounds
foreign
like a pretty
country.
well executed plan.
How would altitude affect childbirth or pregnancy in any way?
I imagine it'd make it worse.
What, just because it puts your body under more stress?
Yeah, everyone's body's under a little bit more stress, and at least according to our doc last time, the rate of jaundice is higher, and the kids tend to have really high hematocrits.
Oh yes, we return once again to the Visit Colorado.
Beautiful
horrible
Colorado.
message.
Visit Colorado, Durango, Colorado, where you can have children with high hematocrits.
At
Home of jaundice.
1,700 meters.
1850.
Sorry,
Well, tomorrow we're going to 2,000.
we are.
Tomorrow we go to
2,800.
What?
Huh?
2,800 meters.
Really?
Well, that's the highest point, but Isla 2000 is at 2000, hence the
okay.
name.
Demille.
Dumia.
Yeah.
Isla
We're
2
doing
K.
other-
Other stuff from today's race.
Yes. Some movement on the GC.
Oh yeah.
Ooh la la.
Who?
Not in the top 10. But
That was clickbait.
it was clickbait.
That was clickbait.
Sorry. But it was kind of cool to see some people sneaking up to the fringes of the top 10. Namely Steph Crass.
That is cool.
That is cool.
No, it was
No,
good.
it's cool.
The way you said cool, I thought you were setting us up for a cool set joke.
Same. Or
Oh,
another
no, no,
ex
he's-
fella.
We heard so much about the cool sets.
Okay, but he's still he's still 14th.
Yeah, I know, but there's like a minute between the people from 9 to 13. And
That is incorrect.
2 minutes? It's close.
Why do you care?
Because Israel Premier Tech were the only ones that
10th
were doing any chasing today
10th
because they
just-
wanted to consolidate Derek G's 9th place on GC.
Ian, Virage corrections.
Okay. In real time,
The,
this is going
the
well.
difference between 10th, which is Santiago Buitrago, and Steph Kras is currently 14 minutes.
No, it's not.
No, it's not.
It's 1 minute 20 seconds. What are you looking at? The stage? No, you're on stage 17. We're stage 18.
Come on, Kaylee. Virage corrections on the Virage
Virage
corrections.
corrections on Virage corrections.
We're about to spin a top to find out if we're in reality or not.
You are correct. You are correct.
The one time I do some research about a bike race and you're trying to correct me into
Well,
the
I didn't
into
realize
silence.
that's the stage I had pulled up.
Well, I mean, we could go back to like
Yeah, you can't
stage
blame
5
him
and it
for
would
that.
look wildly different.
All right, uncorrections, the Virage corrections.
Okay, while we're talking about
Virage U-turn.
while we're talking about the GC, shall I just get the MySable out of the way for the
Yeah.
day? So Lou Munchies, thanks to his day in the break, is now back up to a 47-minute deficit. So there's a chance that he could wear it again, which someone else has done this race. Can't remember who. Then we've got a new MySable. Someone maybe we could talk to. Julian Bernard, Little Trek, 1 hour 12 seconds. He seems like a nice
We
man.
can definitely
Yeah.
have a chat to him.
Yes.
I think Abby posted this today. He
Oh.
has a child
That's friends with
that's
her
friends
child.
with Tom's and Abby's child.
Yeah, because they've been at
Yeah.
the bike races.
Yeah.
Their family's been at the bike race as well.
Do you
Crazy.
think that there was
This is
ever
the
any...
children episode.
Yeah, it is
Yes.
the kid episode. The good thing about if you are Julian Bernard
Yes.
and your last name is a first name,
Yes.
that you could do the funniest possible thing and name your son Bernard.
Bernard.
Yeah.
I think that has happened before.
Or Saint.
Saint Bernard.
Saint.
Saint Bernard. That's
Just a big old dog.
He's just like, no, I'm a big fan of Kanye West. It's like, oh, Julian.
Any other thoughts on the sort of tactics today? So what happened was what always happens, which is big old group. It was like 30 plus riders
Yeah.
at some point. And it whittles and it whittles and it whittles and it whittles because, you know, when you have a group that big, at least half of them aren't pulling, right? So you have to get rid of them at some point. And it's all this sort of big, kind of a game of chicken as to who's going to pull and who's going to keep the thing off the front and who's going to eventually be able to separate. And it takes both really good legs and a fair amount of, I don't know, stealth and tactics to get yourself
maybe
into the front.
Some luck,
A little bit of luck,
maybe.
Yeah, well, yeah. If you're in the right move, if you're in the one that goes, which is always just fun to watch. It's something like I said at the start of the show. We don't get to watch. We haven't gotten to watch it that much yet this race, and like let's be honest, probably the next 2 days, and certainly a time trial, we're not going to get any of it. So
So breakaway
probably
wins in a
the
time trial.
breakaway time trial
Don't
win.
all breakaways win in the
I
time
mean,
trial?
tomorrow and Saturday could both, in theory, be breakaways. They could be like, you know,
Nah.
sort of high climber type of breakaways, but it's very, very unlikely. Mostly because it seems to be that UAE and Visma have no interest in allowing that to really happen.
Either Pogacar will want the stage and to further, do things, or Visma will have one last try. So yeah, that's maybe most people's races over today.
Yeah.
Which is fine.
Well, it's clear that we have exhausted our thoughts on today's bicycle race. Luckily, we've been collecting questions from listeners, and we've got one right here. Let's listen.
Hey guys, this is Patrick from Arlington, Virginia. First of all, I'd just like to say thanks for keeping me company these last couple weeks. I always love having my ear friends around during the tour, and this year is no exception. My question is regarding the vibes-based assessment of which tour personalities align to which Australian cities. I feel like a couple times y'all have alluded to, so-and-so has Melbourne vibes versus this other person is more Adelaide. And anyway, I'm just hoping y'all could provide some more information on how this assessment works. Thanks again.
Is Patrick, is he giving you Melbourne or Sydney, Ian?
Patrick is giving me Melbourne, I think.
Yeah?
Yeah, we'll say that.
Am I the only one of this group who's not been to either Melbourne or Sydney?
Melbourne?
Melbourne?
It feels like it.
Yeah,
probably.
Oh well, okay.
Joke's on you.
Yeah. Missing out.
You should have come to the
Missing out on
Aussie.
both that and the whatever we're discussing here then.
So Patrick's actual question was, can you further explain? Should we have a little mea culpa? Like, should we admit what happened?
I I think the best way to maybe sort it out is that if you guys, because I will learn too, if you guys just name people who are Melbourne and people who are Sydney, then I and the listeners can try and figure out what it means.
Victor Campenarts.
That's interesting. Tasmania.
Perth.
No, not Perth.
No?
Tasmania. Hobart.
Tasmania.
Big Hobart guy.
So I can't learn Hobart as well.
No,
I've never
Hobart's not
heard
in the
of
game.
Yeah. Okay, Tadej Pogacar.
Sydney.
Melbourne.
Sydney.
Ooh. Sydney.
Sydney.
Really?
Yeah.
Taylor Finney.
Melbourne.
Melbs.
Yes.
Big Melbourne.
Yep.
Okay, Lachlan Morton.
Melbourne.
Melbs.
Jonas Vingegaard.
Sydney.
Gold
Melbourne.
Coast.
Gold Coast.
When have you been to Australia all these times, Kaylee?
Not enough to be making these.
Okay, Patrick Lefevre.
Sydney.
Yes, but arrived there as a convict.
Okay, let's think some more outside the box, people. Why can't I think of any riders? Someone else. Stefan Kung.
I think
vanilla
ideologically
man.
Melbourne,
Yeah.
but in general hotness, Sydney.
Oh, okay. Okay, I get it.
Is this helping you, Johnny?
Yes,
Are
it
you
is.
getting a clearer picture?
Yes, Ian Treloar.
Melbourne.
Okay. Kaylee Fretz.
Melbourne.
Josh Robinson of the Wall Street Journal.
Melbourne.
Oh, Johnny Long.
Sydney.
No! No, I don't know. Really, I don't know what it means.
Let's find another question. Thank you, Patrick. I hope that made everything clear.
Yeah, I'm sure it did.
Hi, guys. This is Dan the Man. You might know me from questions such as church bells or lawn bowls. I decided I would give you the chance to do a trifecta. And this one involves the episode I just listened to where you were talking about armpits and ITV. And for whatever reason, my thoughts took me to one Daniel Friebe. Now, I don't mean to throw Daniel under the bus. He is a fantastic journalist, speaks multiple languages. His history segments on ITV are fantastic. His wine glass ratings of the tour are sublime. But he kind of gives off sort of a Gallic funk to him whenever I see him interviewed. Like if I were next to him, I think I would want to be upwind. Just wondering whether you could either confirm or deny my conjecture involving this kind of what I would call a Gallic stench. Thanks, guys.
I've known him the longest.
Yeah.
So, no, he's not a stinky man.
I've stood next to him multiple times, not smelly.
No.
I would say is actually even though I've not spent a lot of time in his orbit, it doesn't strike me as a smelly orbit.
If anything, I would say he's more towards maybe being a clean freak, if I had to guess.
Yeah, I think you are accurate.
I think the way that you can tell that he's a clean freak is that he, of the sort of cycling sphere, he's one of those people that wear, like, clean trainers, but instead of cycling socks or no socks, you just know that he's got those little hidden socks.
Pop socks.
Yeah. Which I
How
think
very
is a
millennial
good...
of him.
It's a good metric for hygiene, because otherwise you're just letting the odors waft from your feet upwards. I know this wasn't a question about foot odor, but it was a question about armpit odor, and I think
he's
that's
had a go at our long socks in previous tours. Been like, what are you guys doing?
Yeah, he has.
So he's the odor police and the fashion police. But no, it doesn't smell.
Two things. One, I take issue with the phrase Gallic stench. I thought we were past that as a society. A cheap and hurtful cliche.
Are you denying that the stereotype could exist?
Get over here and smell me.
No, you smell great, Josh.
Yeah.
I happen to know that Josh smells particularly great right now.
But I would say that there are some aromas that are unique to the Tour de France.
Kaylee
yes, but this is a tour problem. The problem is
true.
with the tour part, not with the France part.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
I contend that you would find those same aromas
Smells,
at any race that starts with Tour or Giro.
The Giro's pretty stanky.
Okay.
Right.
Is it?
or Dwars d'Or. Any
Yeah.
of those races.
No, but the Belgian races, I think it's more of a beery, meaty stench.
And because it's so cold.
And
Yeah, that's the problem. Is the heat of July just brings, like you said the other day, Kelly, walking around, and he's like, sometimes only in France you walk around, and then just a random aroma just hits you, not a good one.
Yes, but have you ever
nothing
taken the
there.
New York City subway?
Yeah. But there you kind of expect it. I think it's like that whole thing where, people visit Paris and then are overcome with emotion because of how much they built up with their heads. I think you just come to France thinking it's going to be much more perfect than it
Well,
obviously
you've just
is.
seen, you can't, there's no smell-o-vision on Instagram.
And also sometimes we just go to bad parts of France.
Yeah, actually, that is something, like, our job is incredible. We go to some wonderful places. We're in one right now. But we also have a deep understanding of the industrial estates on the outskirts of towns that you probably wouldn't go to.
I was there with you guys in Saint-Etienne.
Lest we forget.
Good question.
Yep.
Fribourg smells good. I'm going to take a brief pause in the questions here, and we can preview tomorrow a little bit.
Yeah, why not?
So...
Spiky.
It's spiky. Joshua Robinson of the Wall Street Journal brought the actual road book so we could take a close look at this. So, kicks off, a couple little lumps. There is a sprint point. Was it 21.5 kilometers in?
Yep, 21.1.
No major climbs before it. So this is the last opportunity for Philipsen to take anything. I think after today, I haven't actually looked at the numbers yet.
There's 33 points left, so that means that
I think it's pretty much done.
As long as he stays on his bike.
Yeah.
But assuming Bini Girmay feels fine, this is more for him if you look at the profile.
The actual sprint itself, just like yesterday, the sprint was very much a Bini Girmay sprint, so not surprising at all that he was able to take Philipsen out on that one. But it is worth mentioning. Then we head up a ore category climb. As a brief reminder, ore category means that it's above categorization, and that
which
peaks,
in a way is a category of its own.
It's a bit it's a bit
misleading.
Backwards, yeah,
it's your especial, as we say at the Vuelta.
that one peaks the Col de Var peaks at 42.5 kilometers, so actually quite soon in the stage. The whole stage is only 145 tomorrow. We're sort of in the remember when these stages first started popping up in kind of like the late teens, 20 teens, and everyone's kind of freaking out about them because the traditional mountain stage was like 180 plus minimum, and all of a sudden we had like 100k mountain stages and 130k mountain stages. This isn't quite to like the shortest level of that, but it is on the shorter end, and it should be, as a result, pretty explosive, I think. So you get on the backside of the Col de Var, you hit Cime de la Bonnette, 2,798 meters. What's that in freedom units? It's got to be about 10,000 feet.
I don't know. I don't operate in freedom units. Hi, Ian told me
Multiplied
earlier.
by 3 and change.
Yeah.
Ian told me earlier it features the highest paved road in Europe. Apparently, is that true?
I did
9,000 feet.
I did read that in an article.
That's fun.
The legitimacy of the article, I'm not sure about.
Well, either way, we'll get to drive it tomorrow.
9,200 feet for the second HC of the day, and then we drop down. And it's a pretty long descent. So they descend from 87 all the way to 128 kilometers. It's a really long descent. And then they kick up to Isla 2000, which Isla 2000, which is a ski resort and a little town up there. And it's a pretty nasty little kicker up to the top of Isla 2000. In particular, there's a portion at about 8K in that sits at 10%. For a while. The bottom of that climb is also very, very steep. The bottom 2-3 kilometers are very, very steep. And so you fully expect to see if there's attacks, probably from the very bottom of that climb.
The other thing that's probably worth noting is Tadej Pogačar has tended to go a little bit early with his attacks, or they've tried to ramp things up a little bit early. But I think the 40-kilometer descent off the Bonnette neutralizes that. It would be fairly...
You think?
I think so.
Is it is it a pedaling descent or not? Because then that's where it did take time.
So it's interesting. The back of the Bonnette is a twisty, has like a fair amount of switchbacks in it, but then there's also sort of like this big kind of not quite valley, but kind of big straight long, not super steep part of the descent. And that part will be very pedally. I mean, the thing is, they'll have already done 2 HC climbs by that point. So like, the peloton's not going to be bigger than 25 or 30 riders, maximum, and it could be 4, right? Like, it could absolutely. I mean, if it's not completely unreasonable to think that Pogačar actually goes early tomorrow.
Yeah,
and if he thinks he can get rid of Vingegaard, I could see him going early tomorrow. And in particular, if he thinks he can get rid of Vingegaard and Remco might come with him. So if Remco can also get rid of Vingegaard, then those two can swap, and Vingegaard is gone. Right?
That's fun.
I think, I'm not going to put all my cards on the table and say that's exactly what's going to happen. But based on what we saw yesterday, it looked to me like Vingegaard's getting worse and Remco's getting better. And Remco and Pogačar also appear to get on pretty well. It wouldn't surprise me if they have a little conversation and they say, if we can get over the top of this thing together, or if Pog can get over solo and Remco can come across something, they could ride all the way into the base of Isola and then into the finish.
I'm going to say that's exactly what's going to happen.
I'm
just going to call
it's not. I think that what we saw the other day with Pogačar sitting on Vingegaard's wheel and actually playing it quite safe rather than being aggressive at all costs. He's already got a 3-minute lead. I think it would be foolish.
But he had attacked once already.
Yeah.
He was calling Vingegaard's bluff when Remco went up the road.
But for him to attack on the Burnett, it's what, like 80 kilometers?
That's where he went
from the
with
finish?
What's it called? Strade Bianche, wasn't it?
Yeah. But most of that's downhill.
He's like a borderline insane person at this point, Ian, the way he's ridden the Giro and the Tour. This is just how it's a whole new world.
I don't see it.
No? Okay.
I think that the reason why he would do that is if it works, it's potentially minutes.
Yeah.
Many minutes.
Makes
and then the race is over.
Makes Saturday much easier. The time trial, all the pressure's off. He's like, I can just pedal around this course and I won't lose the Tour.
And if it doesn't work, he can still do what he was planning on doing on Isola 2000 anyway, and attack him there and take another 45 seconds, right? So that's why I think that might be what happens. Anyway, I guess my point being, for all the listeners out there, tune in for well before the last climb.
Yeah.
Because I think that the Or category, Team de la Bonnet, is an interesting one, and potentially the site of something. The last kilometer kicks up to 8%. It's a little like ramp after a flat part. And I could see Pogačar just trying to go over the top with 5 seconds because he's been descending faster than Vingegaard.
We'll have to wait and see what Moo tells us is going to happen.
We'll see what Moo says.
Yeah.
So there you go. There's our little micro preview of tomorrow's stage. Let's get back to some questions.
Dear Ian et Alia, I was shocked to one day notice photos of each of you on your podcast image tile. I say shocked, as not one of you appeared as I had expected, nay, hoped you would. You were, however, far too easy to identify amongst yourselves by the sounds of your voices. Please discuss, if you please, how the vocal characteristics of each of you relate to your physical appearance. My very warmest regards, Mr. R.F. Chambers.
So they were able to identify us based off of our photo and our voice.
But we also didn't look like they expected us to.
Yeah, so,
that never happens.
What's true, what's true, what isn't.
You see a picture of somebody on the radio, you're like, what? That's normal.
Yeah.
But then you join the dots afterwards and you're like, I can see how that would be.
Yeah. I think so.
I'm double locking our hotel room door tonight, to be honest.
So based off of what Johnny sounds like, do you hear frosted tips?
I don't hear frosted tips. I'm surprised every time I see them, to be honest. And seeing as I sleep in the same room as Johnny most nights,
Oh, babe.
it's a rude awakening every morning.
Even Abby, who I'd met previously when we saw her earlier this week, was like, you are just so much taller and bigger than I thought. And I was just like, you know what, at this point, can everyone just fuck off?
We
Leave
met,
me alone.
Unfortunately, I can't remember his name, but we met somebody about a week ago
Yes,
who
after
said
pizza.
that all of us were smaller than he expected, apart from Johnny, who was taller, which I agree with, maybe.
We're not that small.
You guys are small.
No, we are like classic size 56 bike rider
Yeah,
types.
but in real world, you're not regular sized humans.
5'11".
I'm a regular sized human in the real world.
Well, are we 6 foot or 5'11"? We're the same.
Yeah.
Kelly and I are the same.
Well, Ian, the other day you were protesting far too strongly that 5'10" was actually tall.
Yeah,
so I think we
because-
need to get the measuring tape out and check what that bouffant hair is doing for your overall stature.
Well, last year we were measuring my hair height by how many knuckles it was. So
Really?
last year my hair was quite tall. It was like 3 knuckles tall.
You've only got 2 knuckles.
3 knuckles. I've got a 2-knuck haircut this year. The reason why I was protesting about the 5'10" height thing was because I was getting served Instagram ads on my weird Polish SIM card that I'm using in Europe that was telling me to go and shop at
Short
shop
Man's
for
Clothing Company.
Short Kings.
Yeah.
of 5'10" and below, and I didn't actually think 5'10" was short. I thought that was pretty average.
I think 5'10" is the actual human male average.
So I think it's fine to protest about the fact that 5'10" is being marketed as short.
I have no real opinion on this.
You guys do you.
I'm just sticking up for the 5'10" and below community.
Next question.
Does that make me a bad guy?
I think we look like what we sound like.
Ian doesn't.
No, he does.
I think Ian's not a normal-looking man.
I have an abnormal voice.
No, it's just no one would ever, if they had to listen to your voice and then draw what you look like, would ever draw this whole thing.
But that's because no one ever guesses mustache.
Yeah, no, it's true. Just when you're playing Guess Who.
Here's what we want. Listeners.
Draw a picture.
Yes.
Draw a picture of Ian.
Yes, if you've never seen him
If you've never
before.
seen what he looks like, or if you just want to pretend you've never seen what he looks like, draw a picture of Ian, drop it in the Discord. We'll maybe turn it into a story.
That would be great.
That'd be great. Or all of us. You can draw pictures of all of us. Whatever you want to do. Let's move on. It's our boy.
It's not. Back once again.
Hey, Escape Collective crew. It's your boy, Kanger Danger, calling in with a little bit of a cold today. My question today is something that I think has been avoided by a lot of the media and even some of the fans. But I think it's high time to address it. If Poggi wins the Tour de France, as he seems set to do so, with, dare I say, some level of relative ease, at what point do we start discussing the triple as opposed to the double? I think we'd all agree that the Vuelta, because of a variety of reasons, is probably easier to win than the Tour. I don't know who all is going and who all has planned to go, but I have a suspicion that if Poggi were to take a strong team to the Vuelta, he'd have a pretty solid chance of winning it. And if he doesn't, no hard feelings. Maybe he drops out in the second week and you just say, it's not possible this day and age. But what if he did win it and pulled off something that we have never seen in history? I'm wondering if you guys have thoughts on that, or if you'll simply avoid this question because at this point it's still, anathema for the media to address it. Thanks, guys.
We were talking about this today.
We were talking about this. Should we say where we were?
At our hotel.
In the pool.
Yeah, in the pool.
Having a lovely little swim.
Just before I had a 25-minute nap and got a bit sunburn on my stomach.
We had a good morning.
Yeah.
So what do we think? Triple?
He's not going to do it. He said there's 99% chance that he's not going to race the Vuelta. But my argument in the discussion was that you might as well race the Vuelta and probably win it, and then you're just done. You've completed cycling. You've got your already how many millions, and your contract runs. Even if you're rubbish, you're going to be rubbish soon anyway. So you might as well strike while the iron's hot and try and keep it going.
It is also a very appetizing fuck you to Visma Lease a Bike when they completed it with 3 guys last year.
And released a whole fucking merch range celebrating the fact of it. And
he could just come in and do it single-handed.
It's also the most fan service thing you can do. I
Yeah.
mean, fans would love to talk about this. I mean, we talked about it unprompted.
And had a lovely time doing so.
Exactly. But if any of the top GC guys would do it and has that awareness of just being a fan of cycling and a fan of cycling history, it is him. But he's not going to do it.
He's
probably just tired.
Yeah, but it's the Vuelta. It's the Vuelta.
Have you seen the transfers? I mean, granted, he flies, but
he's gonna.
It's
the
hot.
transfers aren't a problem for him.
But I think the complicating issue is that the Olympics course could be good for him. The Worlds course could be good for him.
We'll just race those as well.
Yeah, but you can't,
also, those races,
sweep everything in a single season.
Those races are much more of a lottery than any other race on the calendar. And if he raced the Vuelta, considering he's going to beat everyone but Jonas Vingegaard and Remco Evenepoel, who won't be doing the Vuelta by at least 10 minutes, it means that a really undercooked Pogačar. I mean, Sepp Kuss won the Vuelta last year after racing both the Giro and the Tour.
That's true.
And Pogačar is miles better than Sepp Kuss.
You take that back.
Sorry, Sebastian.
He's miles better. And you know why? It's because he was born in Slovenia, not Durango. Just goes to show there are other places in the world.
Oof, rough. No, I think you should do it. I agree with Josh. I think for for the purposes of history.
Yeah.
I mean, it'd just be a shame not to, because he's probably going to not do the Giro Tour double ever again.
Or have it lined up so that if Vingegaard hadn't been injured, he would have had a much more hard fought tour.
Yeah.
So it's the perfect run into the Vuelta, which people always say about a Giro Tour double. And that's something that then just defines the sport forever. You know?
I think it'd be great. Yeah.
You're like, the 1 or 3. Or alternatively, if he doesn't do the Vuelta, then does that mean that the Vuelta's not maybe a Grand Tour in the eyes of Tadej Pogacar? Because he's like, well, I'd rather just win the 2 real ones and then add a World Championships or Olympics.
Yeah.
Someone clip that and send it to Dane, please. Anyway.
He should. We agree. Thank you, Canger Danger, for your question.
A little time in Lisbon at the start of the Vuelta. Lovely. That's your break there.
Yeah. All right, let's take one more question.
This is Grace from the Pacific Northwest. I am a subscriber, a member, whatever. Anyway, I have a tongue twister for you guys. My dad actually made this up a few years ago. And I'm going to see if I can do it myself. But it's Frank Schleck's the quick Schleck, Andy Schleck's the slick Schleck. What the heck, quick step? Anyway, so I'm just wondering if you guys can say that 5 times fast. God knows I can't. Yeah, that's all.
Frank Schleck's the quick Schleck, Andy Schleck's the slick Schleck, quick step. I forgot the rest of it. What was the rest of it?
Frank Schleck's the quick Schleck, Andy Schleck's the slick Schleck. What the heck, quick step?
Oh, Ian, legend. Thanks for that, Grace. We appreciate that. That was out of left field, but we liked it. All right, we'll do one more because that was quick.
Hey, this is Paul from Dublin. Just a quick question about photography at the Tour. I noticed yesterday that when Pogacar crossed the line, he was greeted by a wall of photographers, but they all seem to be basically in the same position, taking basically the same shot. Maybe you could ask some of your photographer contacts, like, what's the merit of being in the predictable spot versus being in a different spot? And how important is it to get the one shot of, the arms raised in the air? And, what are the consequences if you miss that shot? And when should you be positioned somewhere else? I'm just curious because it just seems like dozens of photographers taking the same photograph is not necessarily hugely beneficial. And how do photographers make that decision about when they go for the default versus go for something different? Love the Tour and the daily podcasts. Hope you're all well. Thank you. Bye-bye.
We could kind of answer that question because, why don't we answer that question for us?
Yeah.
And then we will go and talk to our photographer friends and get a real answer from them.
Okay.
I think the answers will be similar, probably. But for us, because basically we do the same thing, right? Like,
we write the same quotes.
The scrum is the same thing that you're seeing because it's just all of us sticking a recorder in to hear somebody. And we're all going back to the same place. We're all going back to a press room. We could just share one audio file.
Yeah.
In fact, that does happen. Like, there's WhatsApp groups and people send audio around all the time. We don't really know why we do it sometimes, to be perfectly honest.
Just to have something to do sometimes.
We try to, get the vibe and things like that. Notice other things, observe other things, and that stuff, makes it into the stories very frequently. But there is some level of ridiculous's to it.
With the photographers, I think a lot of the time it's because it's based on their clients and their client needs directs most of the day. But we'll hear from them in the coming days what they think. But I think they often feel similar, not frustration, but questioning of, like we do when we're all getting the same quotes of why are we doing this? But they do spend all day out on the course as well, shooting other scenes.
They are often working for different photo agencies.
Yeah, exactly.
So different clients, which means that all of the different newspapers that they're individually providing their photos for still need the kind of
winner shot.
Yeah, we need the one from Corvas, and Getty has a different photographer and all the rest. And then some photographers, they do skip the finish, right? There's a lot more photographers at the Tour than you see in that finish scrum, right? So the Grubers rarely go and stand in that scrum, almost never actually these days. Friends of the podcast like Zach and Harry and that whole crew, Chris, they sometimes do, sometimes don't.
The problem is also you can miss. So the example was on the stage that Felix Gall won last year. If that had ended up being a Pogacar winning that stage on the lows, was it?
Yeah, that was Courchevel.
Yeah, and then
lows and then Courchevel.
Sorry, yeah. If then he'd won that stage and him across the line would have been like the shot of the Tour.
Yeah,
and so you need to kind of be there. in case that happens. And you've only got so much time to play with, right, to be able to get there, because you have to be there in time to.
So they have to make a decision. Like yesterday, they all had to decide whether they were going to be on Col de Noyer, or the finish, because you couldn't do both.
Yeah,
and the Col was really cool. It was like great shots, right? Like, I mean, Harry did a good one, absolute banger up, and really cool shot, but he didn't get the finish line, right? So they have to make a decision every day. Anyway, look, we'll chat with those guys. Tomorrow.
We haven't chatted to them enough this year. We've still got a big 3 days of bike racing left, which usually doesn't happen at the Tour. That's kind of why today is a bit more of a chill one, because
there's big 3 days coming
for the next 3 days.
Like big 3 days.
And a lot could still happen. You never know.
Yeah.
You never know.
I mean, we've got this, double HC and then Isla 2000 Cat 1 tomorrow. And then we've got
more up and down nonsense.
We have Cat 2, Cat 1, Cat 1, Cat 1.
And then
on Saturday.
Time trial.
And then a TT, Monaco to Nice.
Rowan's going to be so excited for that TT.
He's already salivating.
Ugh.
Yeah.
It's fun. It's different.
Yep.
Right.
All right. Thanks for listening, everybody. Thanks, Johnny.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ian. Thank you, Joshua.
My pleasure.
We'll see you tomorrow.